I know Troy's got some family, I think, in that area, don't you, Troy? North of there. So, did they have much damage? That's true. I know they had like 30 injuries in Sulphur, and two people lost their lives in Holdenville, one an infant. I think this week we're going to try to get in contact with the church there at Sulphur, see if we can send something to help them or I know they're fellow Oklahomans, but they're brothers and sisters in Christ too. So we need to remember those folks in our prayers. We're in Matthew, the 23rd chapter. Just a quick note, Aaliyah and Colin made it home yesterday about 1:30. And everybody's doing good. They had to stay in an extra day because the baby had just a touch of jaundice. Had to leave it under the light. And but she's doing fine. And Mom and Dad's doing good. So we're in Matthew, the 23rd chapter, about verse 29 is where we got into. We talked about last week he called it the 8 woes to the Pharisees and the scribes, and this here is toward the end of it. And there's some things here that we'll get to in just a few minutes. Verse 29 now. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you built the tombs of the prophets and adorned the monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had been living in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partners with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of the guilt of your fathers. You serpents, you brood of vipers, how will you escape the sentence of hell? What's he saying here in these few verses to these people?
How you're going to forgive and get forgiveness without changing or doing something about it.
These folks here, it's amazing to me now. You and I both know probably if they'd have been there when they persecuted the prophets, killed them, these people would have been right in the middle of it too. But here they said they wasn't. But he told them, when you call someone a serpent and a brood of vipers, how will you escape the sentence of hell? That's about as explicit and about as straightforward as you can get. If this didn't get their attention, I don't know what would. Because let's look there in verse 34. We'll continue on. Therefore, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in the synagogues and persecute from city to city, so that you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon you in this generation. Now you think about the things that he's telling them here in verse 34 and down from there. When he says, therefore, behold, I am sending you prophets, wise men, and scribes. Who's he talking about here? Who is Jesus referring to? Himself and the apostles. Because look here what he says. Some of them you will kill and crucify. And some of them you will scourge in the synagogues, persecute from city to city. What happened to the apostles in their ministry? Exactly what has taken place here. Exactly. Most of them was killed in a very terrible way. Most of them were. Yes, yes, and also Christ was involved when it says crucify. He was foretelling what's going to happen to him. He told, oh, excuse me.
Wasn't it John the only one that wasn't?
John's the only one that died, when we say death of old age. Yeah. Yeah, the rest of them was killed for the name of Christ. You know, when you talk about this, truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. He's telling them this is going to happen. You people's going to see most of this. Because look at verse 37. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I want to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you are unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate. For I say to you, from now on you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. What is Jesus foretelling, we might say right here? He is talking about, I didn't look and see exactly how many years from now, but it's down the way, that this Jerusalem will be totally destroyed. This temple, when he says there won't be a stone left on top of another, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And here, and we can relate to this, and I know you people that's got chickens. When he says, how you'd like to gather them to you like a hen gathers its chicks under its wings. Have you ever been around a hen that has baby chicks? What does she do to protect them?
She'll bite you.
Well, she'll do that too, but she'll try to protect the chicks by their wings, yeah. Gathers them close to her. That's what Jesus wanted to do with them, but what did they do to him? They were unwilling. They were unwilling. Let me ask you this, and we're going to get into it more in the next chapter. Are there people today that are unwilling to serve God? Now think about that. Think about that. Unwilling.
A lot of them are unwilling because they think they know best, better than the Bible. But there's others that just don't have nothing to do with it at all.
That's true. That's true. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate. So what's he basically referring to there? If the temple is destroyed, what will happen to these people? Most likely they won't have to worry about their jobs. Okay? They won't have nothing for them to do. It will be desolate. Yeah, they'll be scattered also. Yeah, that's right. Because let's look here at the beginning of chapter 24. Jesus came out of the temple and was going away when his disciples came up to point out the temple buildings to him. And he said to them, do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another, which will not be torn down. He's telling them this place is going to be utterly destroyed. This was just something that the Jews just could not imagine. They just couldn't imagine this. But he's telling them this is what's going to happen. And as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, tell us when these things will happen. And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? So what did they think these things that he was talking about, when did they think they were going to happen? They thought some of it could be soon. But they also thought it could be when Jesus was coming back, when the world was going to be destroyed. But he's wanting them to understand here in verse 4, he'll continue the thought. It's just like it was, just like it is today. These folks was looking for a sign when this was all going to take place. Are there people today that are still looking for a sign for Jesus to come back? It's been that way all through history, hasn't it?
Some claims that they've even had signs.
Yeah. When Jesus says only the Father knows when that day will be. And you just let that soak in a minute. Jesus doesn't know when that day will be. That's kind of a... And you're looking for a sign? Why do you think all through the Scriptures, be ready, be on guard, be alert, be prepared? Why do you think he's saying all that? Because no one knows the day. No one knows the day. So he's wanting them to be ready at all times. Now in verse 4, here they ask him this question. And Jesus answered and said to them, see to it that no one misleads you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will mislead many. Now think about what Jesus has just said here. He's saying many, not some, not a few, many will come trying to mislead you. Is that not the truth? Think about that. Think about that. There are how many today that are trying to mislead you? Many. Many. And he's even saying there'll be some saying, I am the Christ, and will mislead many. Well, we've heard that in our lifetime, hadn't we? Not so much maybe today, but I can remember when I was a kid, there was a man in Tulsa that believed that he and God talked directly. And he could tell you what he said.
Build a hospital 9 stories high.
Build a hospital and a college and the whole bit. So, there are people that fall into this category. That I am the Christ. I know I have direct line with him. But look at verse 6 now. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that it is not yet the end. Familiar? That's right. Oh, yeah.
That, the things that are taking place now are signs that.
Oh, yeah.
the end is
You
near.
hear that all the time. It won't be long. Things are lining up. I heard this all along. But it's happened all the way through our lives, these things has happened like that. But he's wanting you to understand, you'll be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. We've had that how long?
2,000 years. Ever since
We've had that all the way through. We've had that all the way through. He's wanting you to understand, after you hear those things, see that you're not frightened. Because those things are supposed to take place. They're going to happen. For a nation, verse 7, for a nation will rise against a nation, a kingdom against a kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. Still happening, isn't it? There's places in Africa and other places that are just don't have any water. Famine. There's other places that got earthquakes. Even in Oklahoma, there's earthquakes. So think about that. For all these things are merely the beginning of birth pains. What does that mean? It's just a start. It's just a start. Just the beginning. Verse 9. Then they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you. And you will be hated by all nations because of my name. Let's stop right there for just a minute. What we was talking about earlier. These disciples were going to be facing this. You will be killed. You'll be persecuted. Troubles is going to come upon you because of me. Because of your choice to serve me. Huh?
Still happening today.
It's still happening today. We've been awful fortunate. I'll just put it this way. I don't want to get into politics and the world as a whole. But here in our part of the world, we've been very fortunate not to have persecution because of our religious belief. But there's places in this country that it's not that case. That should scare us to death. But anyway, I'm going to move on for I don't want to get started on that. Verse 10 now. At that time, many will fall away and will betray one another and hate one another. Think about that. Many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. That's happened also. Many false prophets will arise and will mislead many. Still happening today. Because lawlessness is increased. Just look around. Just look around. Most people's love will grow cold. Can somebody explain that to me? Most people's love will grow cold.
Just not feeling for anyone else, just take it all on yourself. Not
Okay.
the rich man and ruler. You want it all for itself.
As you look at verse 12 now, because lawlessness, what is lawlessness? Sin. Let's just put it plainly. Sin. Okay? Will increase. And most people's love will grow cold. What does that mean? We need to know this. This is happening.
We need to get used to things, if that's, okay, that's the way it is, and that's the way it continues to be, so it must be okay. And then the next generation, it's a little further, and a little further, and we need to find it.
His conscience is seared. Oh, no. Yeah. That's right. That's right. But just stop and think about what she just said and what David said. We've let things progress through the years. And now we don't think nothing about it. Okay? Used to when I was a kid, you never heard a cuss word on TV. Now, you can't find a program that don't have one. See how it's progressed? No one said anything about it. That's just the times we live in. I've heard that all along. It's just the time. Things are moving along. It is. My question is today, can that happen in the church? It is happening in the church, and we're sitting here not saying, not doing it. That's the reason he's wanting us to be on our guard, be on the alert. If Bob gets up here and says something that's not right, whose responsibility is it to stop it? Ours. If I say something wrong, stop me. Because I want to know the truth. I want to tell what's the truth. And if I'm teaching something wrong, I got to account for that. Not only am I misleading you, I'm messing myself up. You see why? Now today, we don't say nothing if we think, well, that don't sound quite right, Phil. But I believe it just because you said it. Who's in the wrong at that point? Don't want to step on my toes, people, if I'm saying something wrong. That's what we need to, that's the outlook we need to have. So many people don't want to raise a rough. You know, we don't want to say nothing out, we don't want to cause no problems. But I'm afraid, that's it. That's it. That's exactly right. But when he says right here, when it says most people's love has grown cold, that tells me people just don't care about anybody else. That's it. It can be lost, can it? That's right. Now you think about that. When most people's love grows cold. Now just think about, I'm not talking all, I'm just talking as a whole. Look at the people today. Are they worried about their neighbor? Are they worried about somebody else? They're worried about themselves.
And that's similar to that slow indoctrination, because back in the sixties and seventies actually was when a lot of that ideology
Yeah.
started, that I'm the most important and I need to make sure that I feel good and that I'm happy. And that's really where we saw the beginning
Yeah.
of this me generation. And just like he said, well, no, they didn't just come in and do it all at once, because people were thrown a bit.
Oh yeah.
But just a little bit at a time until now, so many think,
I
I
thought,
have to make
yeah.
myself happy first, and then if there's any left over, I'll help somebody else.
Let me ask you this question. What would it have been if Jesus had that attitude?
It's been terrible for us today.
You think about that. If Jesus would have had that attitude, I don't give a flip about you people. Y'all's the one trying to kill me. Why should I mess with y'all? He could have had that and had a legitimate reason to have it. That's it. That's it. So you stop and think about that. When it says most people's love has grown cold, it means more than just what we think.
Even though people were mean and killed Christ, now he's happy for the one that returns to him.
Yeah. Because look here in the next verse, Jerry, that verse 13. But the one who endures to the end, look at that, will be saved. What does that tell us we need to do?
Keep on keeping on.
Endure. When you hear that word endure, what does that mean?
Hang on before you go.
Hang on, stay with it.
And it's not always gonna be.
And most of the time when you have to endure pain or endure suffering, you have to really want to get through it. But he's telling you, the ones that endure to the end will be saved. The gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. What's he saying there? The gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. What's he saying? Okay. Has it done that yet? There you go. The world evolves every day, doesn't it? Some pass away, some are born. It's a never-ending deal, isn't it? It's a never-ending deal. But as far as we think when we talk about spreading it all over the world, we think about going everywhere and teaching the Word. That's a good point. That's a good point. Don't get me wrong, there are folks that don't have that, I understand. But it has increased the volume. We'll just put it that way. Now in verse 15, he's telling them here in the things to come. Therefore, when you see The abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Let me stop right there. We'll just start because this is a long thought. We'll stop right there and we'll take up with verse 15 next week. Thank you for your comments this morning.